Shalom, Yashala. Shalom. Another video. I'm gonna call this United States and Russia and poor little Laika. During the 1940s, 45, uh, United States and Russia used to be allies. After World War II, they became, so to speak, enemies. Um, and it was a space race thing that they had going on. And as you see, you know, the part of the caption here, which happened in 1957, it was a space race victory that would have broken Sir McLean's heart. I don't know who that is, but you see that we're a space race. Reading a little bit of it, it says the Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik in 1950 increased Cold War tensions and led the United States to accelerate its own space and weapons programs. Okay, so giving all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakadash, Barakadeh, Barakadeh, Shai, Dabon, to the apostles, elders, great millstone must, and bishops of great millstone must salutation to the brothers, teach word for the hopeful elect, soon to be elect, most high will. Israelites scattered across the world, contrite spirit, return back to the most high, man, woman, and children, blessings. And let me get this little information. So they were allies 1940s. That alliance crumbled and shortly after the Cold War, and that happened in 1957. Operation Paperclip.
According to Wikipedia,
Operation Paperclip was between 1945 and 59, which is right at the point where they kind of broke into disagreement and, opposite sides, talking about United States and Russia. So what does that mean? Well, Operation Paperclip was also known as, Joint Alliance Intelligence Objectives Agency. And it was a secret. I want to read that part. It was secret, basically. So, being the opposite of Russia at that time, no table talks, no more. So basically, U.S. hired 1,600 Germans to, being engineers and scientists, They were many that were involved with the Nazi rocket program, aviation, chemical, biological warfare. You could tell, I just read that about how the U.S. increased in space program. And what else did it mention? Weapons program, and, for the sake of being the more powerful, the more the super, nation, so to speak, or the super power. But going back to Russia using this poor little dog, for its testing of it being possible to send humans into space and returning back safe. This dog was a guinea pig in a, so to speak, an experiment. And what is said of this dog was the dog, it said, let me read a little bit of this. The Brits were especially full of feeling for the dog and outrage toward the Russians. The dog would die. We can't save it. Well, London's vast-minded Daily Mirror, the story declares, the Russians love dogs. The Soviet official protested for time, but they'll do anything to see what's going on in space. And because one thing they know, that as long as those things are in order, sun, moon, and stars, that Israel shall always be a nation. If those lose their order, I'll get it. It's like I'm almost butchering it, man. But if they lose their order, Israel shall not be a nation anymore. King James Version. Jeremiah 31 and 36. If those ordinances, let me get that one before. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, verse 35, and the ordinances of the moon, of the stars, and of the stars, let me slow down, for a light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name, Lord of armies. If those ordinances depart from before me, said the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. They know who Israel is. Hitler knew who Israel was. I mean, when he was alive. And U.S. know who Israelites are. Because it's so-called Black, Latino, Native Americans. They will cease from being a nation if those ordinances depart before the Most High. He stretches the heavens out like a curtain. The earth is his footstool. So he sits in the heavens, and it says, he that sits in the heavens shall laugh. He's laughing at these devils because they're trying to set that up to where that's possible. And I still believe that's why one of the reasons why they sent the dog to space, not only to test, because it says that in that they use him as a test. Let me see. Let me read this a little bit. I gotta get better at reading. It's like nearly a half century later, Russian officials found themselves handling PR fallout once again after it was revealed that reports of Laika's humane death was greatly exaggerated. It says, although they had long insisted that Laika expired painlessly after about a week in orbit, an official with Moscow's Institute for Biological Programs leaked the story in 2002. She died within hours of takeoff from panic and overheating, according to the BBC. So, poor little Laika, And let me see, I think it's the next line. It says she was used in an experiment. Not experiment, but it uses one of Laika's human counterparts in the Soviet space program called her as a good dog. He even brought her home to play with his children before it began. So they consider this dog as a human. They putting her on that level. But let me go up. She wasn't the first dog in the sky. It says news media alternated between mockery and pity for the dog sent into space. That's not what I want. Okay, yeah. The Soviet Union in 1957, Soviet Union launched the first ever living animal into orbit, a dog named Laika, if I'm pronouncing it right. The flight was meant to test the safety of space travel for humans, but it was a guaranteed suicide mission for the dog since technology hadn't advanced as far as the return trip. See, so they were just testing stuff, and that's how they do. They test bombs to this day, so nothing's really written in stone when they do these testings or experiments, and that goes along with drugs and everything else. But these scientists, that's what they do. They make drugs. They make you know, these choices under the American banner, like those 1,600 Germans that came over here to experiment. Now, this is Russia's doing over here with the dog, but remember, I just read that America increased their space programs, their weapons program. So, you know, now, I think America had launched a rocket into space. And what I believe, what we have talked about in videos that they're trying to blow up the moon and trying, because if you know anything about Russia too, and the Iron Curtain, they had their satellite allies. So when they do send these aircrafts to space, they have satellites. So they're probably looking at the dog, looking at the dog via satellite, and they saw him probably disintegrate up in there. Lakers bones and blood and bones and guts all over the spaceship. Or the aircraft, I would say. So that was a failed attempt. Now, I think they sent a Sputnik 2, you know. But anyway, just to mention that because, they're trying to investigate, probe space, for, evidence, some kind that God exists or who's up there, if angels are up there. Can we destroy the moon? We'll try. And all other sorts of attempts, you know, um, and for power, because they want to rule the world. So they want to rule the heavens too. Um, in a way to where they don't have to worry about a possible alien invasion. They know about Yahweh Shai to return, uh, for vengeance of his people, in behalf of his people, having more than a bone to pick with the enemy of Israel. Not only that, but ones that came directly against him, and in the near future to even attempt to fight against him. Um, as we move closer to this war ahead of us, the big war, Armageddon, war of all wars, the last war. But for a minute, for a moment in time, in the 1940s, U.S. was in agreement with Russia. They were allies, and they made a common bond. And I think it had a lot to do with the possible alien invasion. And I think a dude named Gorbachev of Russia, if I'm not mistaken, it was Ronald Reagan that sat down with him at his table at the wine and talked about coming together at any cost, even when it was a point that they were enemies, that they would come together and fight a common cause against possible alien invasion. And Ronald Reagan talked about that specifically. So what do we have here is, let me get a scripture. The what ifs, and between that time, the striving on each side to be a superpower. And then maybe whoever is a superpower then and find and discover uh, levels of power dealing with energy and things that they could find in the world and in space to really, you know, let that be the father of their uh, program, their overall program to rule the world. So then maybe they feel maybe where they could we could talk at the table. That's why you have negotiations, talks at the table to re-strategize. But what did the Most High say? That He was going to put the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and that's what's happening. Egyptian against the Egyptian, King James version. It says Isaiah 19:2, and I will set Egyptian against Egyptian, the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, a kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. Where is the spirit of Egypt right now in America? This is spiritual Egypt right here. And I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols and their charmers, and to them that rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. So, that's why they use sorcery, divination, soothsaying, so-called, I don't like to use the word blessings, but, soothsaying from the popes that come over here, So they trying to tap in some spiritual way, too, even though they're carnal people, but they use kind of these spiritual highlights of divination, to kind of guide them to know the next step. But prophecy of what's written in the Bible and spoken by the prophets is interrupting that. So they that's why they trying to ban the truth, trying to ban the Bible, trying to ban the prophets. So you got two opposing sides, and it's sort of similar to Democrats and Republicans, but this is a bigger battle. It's a bigger subject matter because it's with nuclear capability, is nuclear weapons, and that stems from the same thing. But the politics here in America with Trump and Kamala is not as powerful as the overall power head that's controlling the matter, controlling the narrative of what they speak about, what they plan to do, So, and that's over there in England. That's over there with the banking family, the elites. And saying that this is used as cash cow is used as a form of rebuilding, so to speak, old pieces, even of the Roman Empire, via Renaissance, even to this very day, that they still trying to make America a superpower. Trump make America great again. But opposing side with Russia, even though they're all Edomites, they still got strategies and point of views and power points of their own that they want to exercise themselves over there in their own country. So, hey, if America became a superpower more than it is said to be this day, and then to a point where they exceeded Russia 100%, then Russia, which is pretty much going to be impossible because Most High is dealing with Russia. But Russia would, probably still pride themselves and say, well, before we be subject to go to make America superpower, to really go there with y'all and sit at the table and to move into that territory where we have to get a piece of the cake too, you know. But the Most High not going to allow that to happen because they already divided, man. It says a house divided shall not stand. Okay, now I'll finish it. I will destroy the counsel thereof, verse 3, and they shall seek the idols and charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. So it's going to be all out hell, and no superpower is going to be, in the near future, but the superpower of Israelites that the Most High chosen to be superpower men, a different structure, that a lot of people don't talk about, know about. So, I just want to come out with that information, that how, they were once allies, and then, the Most High divided them. And it says the Most High is still with the spirit of the Medes, which is Russia, But the Most High divided them, and they've been really divided ever since, to where, even to the point to where separately they have exercised nuclear weapons. There was before a disarmament agreement, I think. That was around, I think, the same time, if I'm not mistaken. But you see, all that failed, and it was no high technical bombing or of any sort of bombing that took Russia down during the Cold War. It was more geopolitical events, strategizing and direction of the economy and things of that, and certain resources, I would say, that America, got the better part of that. But now Russia is back, and the Most High said He would pull Russia back. We get that scripture all the time. He would put jaws and He would put hooks in our jaws and turn them back into that old Soviet Union, which is the case now. So it always have kind of been, that for a long time, that separation, that that race, that competitive, thing, to the point, because you never really hear them being like enemies until, you never really heard that during the Cold War. You never heard Russia being mad and I'm going to get you back. I'm going to be a big bully. Wait until we get our shit together. Wait until we come out, of this, Cold War thing. But now Russia's be like, I will destroy America. And that's doing the Most High, steering them up to, talk that way and to really be serious about it. What was I going to say? I'll get that scripture right quick. Stir up the spirits of the Medes, King James Version. Isaiah 13:17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. And you can read that chapter talk about, against Babylon, which is America. So the arms race and, technology and all that, America, secretly hired 1,600 Germans over into America to increase their weapons program, their, what's that other one? Uh, they have an intelligence program, but it's weapons and uh, I forgot the other one, man. Thinking of so many things at once, but and now they're kind of like head to head as superpowers, you know. But Russia, I think it says even in this article um, that they got one up on the U.S. by being the first one to send a rocket into space, and I'm pretty sure, So, hey, when did America fake that landing in the moon? Let me see when that was. U.S. astronaut landing on the moon. 1969. Not too far from, that of the Cold War. So, you know, all this going back and forth, you can see that they were competing with each other in power. And I think the very first time Russia was able to use or develop um, technology on that level, so they were able to send rockets into space. Uh, was earlier development in America, and they probably hid those things from America. I mean, they used to be allies at once. Sat at the same table at the wine, and they probably didn't, left that out. And now they call, and then that's when they call. Well, they wasn't being honest with us. When did this happen? You sent, aircraft to space without us knowing. I mean, I thought we was in this together. I don't know how it just unfolded, but it seemed like that would be in the lines of you know sort of how it went. Um, but like I read in that scripture, they know who the Israelites are. They want to endless rule. You know, a rulership without end. They want to like it says in scripture, Psalms 49:11. They think their houses continue forever. In their minds, that's what they want. They want to rule forever. I mean, who don't? I mean, you wouldn't want a certain time to where you're ruling and then somebody take you over. If you read that was your future, you'd be like, oh man, you're gonna you're gonna be a little sad about it, but you're gonna have make sure those days are filled with everything you could possibly think of to have the best of everything, even going into power. So that's what they're doing too. You know, I mean, it is prophesied that they will come down, and they know the Bible very well. You know, and all these scientists like Darwin and Einstein and maybe have to get another couple of more mentions that I gotta, you know, that I gotta say in the near future. I gotta look up a couple more scientists. It was one that I can't think of right now, but I usually know that name or I see it when I look up this kind of information, but I forget now. But you know, um, I mean, they want to, like I said, they want to probe the heavens, investigate, look around with their satellites, and if possible, destroy one of those celestial beings that the Most High created. You know, um, going back to that scripture that any of those depart or you know fall out of order, paraphrasing before the Most High, then Israel shall no longer be a nation. Um, and that's their worst fear for you know starting with the key nation, so-called black men to take over the world, over the earth. That's their one of their, if not most uh, feared prophecy. And it starts with Yahweh. Um, so, you could look into alien invasion going back. Um, and they have secret servicemen, they have spies and all that, so they knew about the commandment keepers. They knew about Abba Bivens. They knew about the truth coming out. I mean, the, the, Edomites' children don't know, but they definitely know. And even with those satellites, so if you're talking about a great power in the world, I mean,